5.14 absolute value part 2 video. You do not have to write this. I'm just letting you know that this is part 2 of the video. This is meant to go on the bottom portion of your graph, of your piece of paper in your notebook. So, wherever you have room, maybe it's the next page, that's fine. We have steps for graphing, table of values, and a graph. So, the idea is that this table shows you the steps along the left side. So this table shows you the 3 steps for graphing an absolute value and step function along the left side. And then I show you what your table might look like and then how that would look on a graph. Okay, let's start. So, over on the left side, we have steps for graphing. Now, really, you could pick any numbers, plug them in, and you would get points on a graph. The issue is we want it to look a certain way. So if you think back to the beginning of the other notes, we talked about how the graph of an absolute value makes a special kind of picture. We want to create or be able to picture the entire V, or at least a small version of the V. If we only graph one side of the V, then we won't know that we're actually looking at an absolute value graph. Or maybe it won't be as obvious. So it's best to follow these steps to get that image on the graph, to get the V shape to appear on the graph. So first it says, find the x value of the vertex point by setting the contents or the quantity inside of the absolute value equal to 0 and solving. So what I just said is shown here in this example. If your function, f of x, equals the absolute value of x minus 4, then take the contents, the x minus 4 part of the absolute value, take that and set it equal to 0. So what that means is create an equation that's equal to 0. So take the inside of the absolute value and set it equal to 0. Once you do that, you solve it, you add 4 to both sides, and you end up with x equals 4. Okay? Now, what does that tell us? That tells us that when x is equal to 4, y is 0. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay? Now, the next step, step 2, second step. It says for the table of values. So once you do the first step, jump right to the table. In the table of values, place the x value of the vertex point, which remember is x equals 4. Place it in the center vertically of your table. Fill in the rest of your inputs. Choose numbers that are 1 more, so 1 more and 1 less than that x value. So if your vertex point has an x value of 4, go 1 less and use 3, and go 1 more and use 5. This will give you that V-shaped look on the graph. Very important, very helpful. As long as you do this, you'll get a V-shaped look on the graph, a V-shaped image on the graph. Now, do I have to only go 1 down and 1 up? No. Can I go 2 down and 2 up? Yes. But at least go 1 down and 1 up, meaning go 1 below and 1 above the vertex x value. Okay. Where do we leave off with? So now it says, for example. So right here, we're still in step 2. For example, 5 and 3 are numbers that are 1 above 4 and 1 below 4. 1 above, 1 below. Next it says, substitute each of your chosen x values. So for us, that's 3, 4, and 5. Substitute each of your chosen x values into your function to find their corresponding y values. So I'm going to do that over on in the table itself. So over here, I have f of 3 equals 3 minus 4, absolute value of 3 minus 4. Well, what does that equal to? That's the absolute value of negative 1. What's the absolute value of negative 1? Positive 1. Okay, let's do the next one. F of 4 is equal to the absolute value of 4 minus 4. What's the absolute value of 4 minus 4? It's the absolute value of 0. What's the absolute value of 0? That's 0. Last one, f of 5 is the absolute value of 5 minus 4. That's the absolute value of 1. What's the absolute value of 1? 1. Notice the pattern that you see. Because what we entered in the x column followed the rule that we were told to follow in the second step, because we started with the vertex point and went 1 below and 1 above, now we have this pattern in our y column or our f of x column that will give us 1, 0, 1. It might be 2, 0, 2. It might be, so it's always going to have a 0 in there. 0 will always be and should always be the number that's paired with that vertex x value, that vertex point's x value. All right, let's get these graphed. So now we're on step 3, and we just have to graph them. So 3, 1, way over here, 3, 1. And then we have 4, 0, 4, 0. And then we have 5, 1. And it's not a big V, but it's definitely showing a V of some sort. So you can get lots of information from here. You can see that one part is going to go in this direction. And the other part's going to go in this direction. And there's our V. Okay? So knowing where that vertex point is very helpful. Moving 1 up and 1 down on the table, in the table, is going to help you get that V-shaped graph. Okay? Bye.